Okay, we're going to do a little review of Chapter 1, Test, Form A. So this is what a test would look like if it were a paper test, but I'm assuming you're going to have something similar on your test, and these would be the things you would need to know. -8 is greater than -12, and we're going to let x be used if we need to use an x. So -8 is greater than. Now, when you write the sign, the wide open end is toward the greater, a -12. The point is toward the lesser. The absolute value of -3 is greater than 2. Now here, when you take the absolute value of -3, it becomes a 3. It's positive value. 3 is greater than 2. Tell which set of numbers -3 belongs to. Is it a whole number? Nope. Whole numbers start with 0, 1, 2, 3. Integers, yes. And it's rational. It's not irrational. And all numbers on the number line are real numbers. So for number 4, we're asked to put these symbols in here to make this statement true. Well, what is the absolute value of -12? A positive 12. So now it's easy. 12 is greater than 6. Here we're asked to add these two numbers. So let's raise it up a little bit and simplify. So here we are to take the larger absolute value and then subtract the smaller absolute value, and we get an 11. Then apply the larger absolute value sign, which is negative there. Now here, the same thing. We have a 12, which is the larger absolute value, and we're going to subtract an 8. And this gives us a 4. And we use the larger absolute value sign, which in this case would be a negative. Now the rule here for multiplying two terms with the same sign, the results will be positive. Usually we don't write the positive, but that way we know we've addressed the sign, and that's 18. Now here, when we are raising a value to an odd power, and our base is negative, our results will be negative. And then 2 to the third is 8. Now here we have fractions. In order to add fractions, they must have the same denominator. So our common denominator is going to be 12. We can multiply each fraction by a 1 so that we can get our denominator 12. So we have 1/4 times what to make it a denominator of 12? Well, it's going to be 3/3, which is a 1. So our denominator becomes 12. 1 times 3 is 3. So 3/12 is an equivalent fraction. and we're going to add. And what fraction would we multiply this by? Again, it'll be 4 over 4, which is a 1. So this becomes 12. Our numerator becomes 8. So we end up with 11 twelfths. Now, this is division, and the rule of division of fractions is to convert it to multiplication, take the reciprocal of this by just flipping it over, and now it's no longer a division of fractions, but multiplication of fractions. Our sign will be negative, and this will cancel out nicely. So we end up with a negative 2. Now, 3 to the second is going to be a 9. We do exponents first, and this simplifies to 1/2. And we can raise this up a little bit now. Okay, again, the rule is we do what is in the parentheses first. So this is going to become a negative 2. A negative 8 times a negative 2 is a positive 16, plus 6 gives us a 22. Here we do our addition, keeping in mind this is a grouping symbol, so we do this first. That's going to be 9. And we do this is going to be 18. 24 minus 6 is 18. And this simplifies to 1/2. The 9 goes into there nicely. Now here we have to raise the exponent first. So this is going to be 6 minus. Now the base is 2, not a negative 2. It's just the 2. That's the base. So this becomes a 4 plus 8. And we know we can do this a couple of ways. 6 and 8, 14. Minus 4 is 10. Or you can go 6 minus 4 is 2, plus 8 is 10. Either way. Now here we have to do the multiplication first. This becomes a negative 10. Well, let's try that again here. That's a positive 10 minus 15 gives us a negative 5 on top. And then this is an 18 on the bottom again. I think that's the same as that again, isn't it? Okay, so our answer then, a negative 5/8, 5/18. There we go. So this was a 10, negative 5. Okay, that's good. Let's go ahead here. Now here they want us to evaluate where we replace a letter with a known value. So we can do that up here. We got 2 times x, which we say is 3. Notice I'm using parentheses to help keep this in order. Minus is in that formula, and then our y happens to be a negative 2. So we see now a negative outside the parenthesis, a negative inside the parenthesis. The opposite of a negative, or two negatives, make this a positive. So this is going to be 6 plus 2 is 8. Now for this one, it's going to be 3 times a negative 3. That's my x. minus 2 times a negative 4. See how handy the parentheses are in keeping things straight. So again, a negative times a negative makes this a positive. This one is still a negative, though. That becomes a negative 9 plus 8 gives me a negative 1. Now here we're going to square a 2, a negative 2. Now notice I put the negative 2 in parentheses because that's what x is. And now our base is a negative 2. Minus 2 times a negative 3. So, negative times a negative, again, makes this a positive. Now, a negative 2 squared, an even power, is going to make this a positive. Negative 2 times negative 2 is a positive 4. So we have 4 plus 6 makes this a 10. Now, name the property described here. So here we have a 2, 3x, 2, 3x. The order is the same. The only thing different is where the parentheses are. The grouping of it is different. So this is the associative principle of multiplication. Now here the order has been changed. 3 times 6, 6 times 3. This is the commutative. All right, what is the opposite of a negative 6? That's a positive 6. Okay, let's go on. Now, what's the reciprocal of 1/4? It's what you would multiply 1/4 by to make it a 1. And you just flip it over. And when we write it this way, we don't put the 1 there. We just say 4. Number 23, a football team gained 6 yards. So that's a plus 6. Lost 3 yards. And gained 4 yards. What was the total gain or loss? Well, we have 10 minus 3. It's a gain of 7. You could put it as plus 7 or a gain of 7. And they want us to use this table now to answer some questions. How many students were enrolled in the fall of 2006? Well, we go here, fall 2006, right there. We go over there and we say 600. Find the decrease in enrollment from there to there. Well, the decrease in enrollment from 600 to 400 was 200. That's a decrease. Now, since they're asking us for a decrease, we're saying a decrease of 200. That should be the answer. And I believe that is our first one. Good.